Going live, and we're ready for the countdown.
Okay, so Ash has actually had a computer crash, so it's going to be a moment or two before Ash can get back online and resume our countdown.
I am here. We are here.
You might want to say the same because I don't believe that the audience will hear me. Welcome to live recording.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this masterclass where that you are hoping to see Ash, and here he is logging in at the 11th hour I know he had a computer crash. Hey, Ash, I'm going to hand it over to you before I kick everything off. I will mute myself now.
Thank you very much, Elliot. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, my colleagues, my peers. I'm trying to be as inclusive as possible here. Welcome to everybody that's joining us live on LinkedIn, everyone that's picked up a link for this from my Facebook channel. I'd also like to give a very special hello and welcome to Martin Barnes and the Pitch Club community. I know that you are all into self-improvement, so I think there's going to be a ton of value that you're going to get from this today. Quick hello to everybody and welcome from the Presentation Summit, where I was 2 weeks ago, meeting everyone in the presentation industry. And I'd like to extend that as well to the Presentation Guild. Finally, you'll want to WhatsApp to anyone that's joining us from the Dynamite Circle, a really impressive group of entrepreneurs there. And finally, and by no means least,
I think we might be having a little bit of technical issues there. Ash seems to have frozen as well. So welcome everybody until we get Ash back and he unfreezes. So my name's Elliot Kay and I'll be taking you through this. I'd like to thank Ash for this and I'd like to thank Simon as well for inviting me. And I look forward to masterclass to you. And of course, if you have any questions towards the end, by all means, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Ash, reach out to Simon, because I'll gladly support you in any way, as will Ash and Simon. Until we get Ash back, I think what I will do is I will start the masterclass and we will take it from there. So I'm just going to bring up the slides and all being well, you'll get loads and loads of value from this and we can get started. So let me just do this. And what you will notice on the slide is there is a giraffe and there's a hashtag, Be More Giraffe. What I really want you to understand from today's presentation moving forwards, that in this day and age, when you present, whether it be in the corporate room, whether it be in the corporate space, or whether you're on conferences, that really what is important as a speaker is to speak with authority, but also to stand out for the right reasons, to stand out and be more giraffe. That's one of our key tags. That's one of our key things. I'm going to tell you all about me shortly. I know Ash was meant to do an introduction, but I'll just tell you about me as we go along. So what I really want to invite everybody to do, I'm inviting you to stick your neck out. I'm inviting you to stand out for the right reasons and hashtag Be More Giraffe, because right now we need great leaders, we need great innovators, we need great businesses, we need great corporations that are out there and influencing everybody in the right way. So when you see me talk a little bit about giraffe today, it's because I want you to really think of yourselves in a slightly different way when it comes to presenting, when it comes to speaking, whether you're in the boardroom, whether it's to investors or whether it's on conferences. I really want you to understand that we need to be more giraffe, because there's plenty of vanilla speakers, there's plenty of vanilla presenters out there. We need you to stand out, which is why this masterclass is happening. So I have a little bit of a cough. I do apologize. So look, the way I've devised this masterclass, and you'll hear a lot more about me. I've been doing this for over a decade. I've worked with thousands of people globally. But really, this particular masterclass came from analyzing, sitting there and watching 100 talks. And I really looked at what are the key factors that make them stand out. Why did they get millions of views? Why are they so big? What got them to be more giraffe than the other person that's talking about that topic? So I looked at motivational speakers, I looked at TEDx's, I looked at TEDs, I looked at a variety of talks, and this is what I came up with. So I'm going to share that with you now. Feel free to take notes. At the end, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to email these slides out as well. But there were some key elements that really allowed people to present with authority. And I'll explain some of them. And again, I'm going to give you 7 steps to really break it down even more. But one of the key aspects to present with authority, believe it or not, is vulnerability. Now, when I say vulnerability, I don't mean, poor me and your story of adversity. I'm talking about coming across as a human being, coming across as someone that's relatable, as someone that people can connect with. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to vulnerability, whether you do that through humor, whether you do that through being honest and authentic. But vulnerability is a key aspect to this day and age to presenting with authority. A lot of times as speakers or someone that presents, you have this notion that it has to be slick, it has to be perfect, you have to show you're going to get eaten alive if not. And that's no longer the case. People want to be able to connect. Again, whether you're talking data in the boardroom, or whether you are talking in a conference, that element of humanistic is what gives you that authority, not to come across like a robot. No one can relate to a robot. You might come across more of a dictator than you would actually a presenter, right? Passion. Now, again, passion, when it comes to authority, I don't mean the yelly, shouty, passion, right? I mean that calm, controlled, authoritative passion that you're holding the room, you know what you're talking about, and you have the strength, the inner strength to communicate that. The next one is humor. Now, when I talk about humor, people go, oh, you want me to be a comedian? No, I don't want you to be a comedian. Using humor in a way adds authority because you're able to make light of very tough situations. You're able to make light of something that went wrong. And again, if you're able to do it in a way that makes people smile, that enhances your authority. Every single person out there, when I analyze the talks and who present with authority, they present for a higher calling. They've got something bigger that they're speaking for. Another one is a unifying message, a very simple and easy message to everybody to get behind. So if you want to present with authority, make sure when you present, there's a theme or something that's very easy and relatable for people to get behind. Because if it's too complicated, then people in the audience go, oh my God, well, am I stupid? Why am I not getting this? I don't understand it. Oh, it's too, and they switch off. That's when you get those bored faces, right? So really think about what's the unifying message throughout your presentation. And again, it doesn't matter if in your boardroom, and I'm going to show you today why the trend of our business, and then they know it's about the trend of the business, right? So really think of it that way. Measured tone. A lot of people think that they have to talk fast. They have to talk in a high tone. Actually, if you want to present with authority, doing some work on your pacing, on your pausing is incredibly important. Knowing what part of your tone to use is important when you are wanting to present with authority. Humility is another one. Excuse me. Humility. Now, I know if we're going to present with authority, we need to come across as credible, as experts, as know-it-all, right? In the way as we know our topic, not know-it-all. But the other thing is an element of humility, knowing that we don't know all the answers to every single question, knowing that we are here and we are actually, even though we're presenting to a big audience or a boardroom or a training room, to understand that we can still learn. And the ones that present with authority have that energy and have that approachability about them. Being resourceful, using what's around you well is another way to present with authority. If you're stuck behind something and you're just standing there and you're just, looking across at the slides, that doesn't give you authority. In fact, it creates a barrier. The ability to use the stage, the ability to engage, the ability to utilize what's around you is what gives you authority. The other thing is data, right? Or data, depends where you are in the world. Using data effectively to magnify your points will really help your authority. And of course, structure. I'm going to come to structure again in a minute. Having a solid structure that you know how you're going to take the presentation from A to B is essential. What happens is a lot of people overload the slides or their talk with information. There's no real pathway to get there. That's like me going, well, I'm just going to go on a plane and go to America. Well, okay, great. Where in America? What's the destination? The structure gives you that destination to arrive where you need to arrive, when you need to arrive. And it's key because structure creates expression. And please don't mistake structure with script. It's very different. I'm not about scripting, but I am all about structure. So this is the time to stand out, right, in your business. This is the time to take presenting and really elevate yourself. And again, be more giraffe. Here's the thing. Most presenters want to make an impact. There's a word missing there, but very few have the impact they want, right? Because they don't really put the time and the effort and they don't really invest in it. It's something that's flippant, or I'll wing it, or I'll do it on the side. And that's so important that truly to present with authority, you take this seriously. It becomes something you practice. You find the time, the money to invest in it so you can become that authoritative speaker. You have the energy for it. That is really, really important. So here's some of the challenges we come across when we work with a variety of businesses, whether they be entrepreneurs, whether they be business owners, lawyers, accountants, right? It really doesn't matter for us because it's all about It's all about literally our methodology. So we work with most industries when it comes to it, because it's about enhancing what you have to say with authority. So here's some of the key problems we get when we work with people. They're not current. They do the same talk they've been doing for 10 years. They struggle to get booked because they're not packaged right. Or even if you're in the corporate space to represent, you're not able to get those booking that represent your business in the right places. Of course, sales is important. Online noise is, a big thing. Having no impact. You speak and people go, oh, that was nice, and nothing happens. Not enough stage time to practice. You don't have a clear brand message, which means when you speak, you're not really representing the business or the corporation or the industry you're in, because it's not clear who you are and what you are. Fluffy when you're pitching. It's a fluffy pitch. People don't get what you're selling, so no one buys, and forgetting to pitch. And of course, not enough quality leads. So these are some of the things that really get in the way when it comes to presenting with authority. And how I ended up here, I've been doing this for over a decade. I'm the co-founder of Speaker Express. I run the UK. We had ambitions to grow globally before the pandemic, but obviously that took a turn. I've written 4 magazines. I've got over 10,000 hours of delivering talks globally. I've written 6 books now. The 6th one isn't out, but 2 of them are all about speaking. One of them is Speak, Influence, Sell. And my best-selling one is The Power to Succeed. But also I wrote a book called How to Stand Out as a Speaker and Be More Giraffe. I'm looking for it to see if it's near me, but I can't see it. I mentor here in the UK for the Princess Trust. I also run a podcast called the Public Speaking Expert Podcast, and I'm an accredited virtual speaker. I've won awards globally. I was recognized by Yahoo as one of the public speaking coaches to follow. And also this year, my book, which How to Stand Out as a Speaker and Be More Giraffe, was also shortlisted for the Business Book Awards here in the UK. So out of thousands of applications, I was down to the top 6, and I didn't win the category, but I did lose out to 2 very, very, very good books. But I'm very happy to be shortlisted, full stop. So that's some of about me. And we work with a variety of industries. We work with tech entrepreneurs. We work with corporations. We work with accelerators. We work with authors. We work with people who are pitching on, have gone on TV here in the UK, Dragon's Den, which is equivalent to Shark Tank in America, Master Chef professionals, that's filling in the top right, a real variety, property investors, because it's about the methodology. That's what it's really about. Now, if you're wondering how you can be influential or how influential you are as a speaker, as a presenter, feel free to just scan the QR code. I'll leave it up. It's a little test. It's a little scorecard where you'll do like 30 questions and it'll give you a personalized score where you can completely find out how you are doing as a presenter, where are your shortcomings, where are your strengths, and go from there. We will email your reports, like 18-page report, where it gives you tips on how to improve as well. So feel free to scan that and we will go from there. And then, of course, there's the 6 key areas as well that we look at within the scorecard or within the quiz. So I'll give a couple more seconds in case you've got your phone like this and you're scanning it. Go, oh, let me get that. Let me get that. Yeah. Right. I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cool. So I just want you to understand what I'm going to share with you. It works for MDs, CEOs, it works for corporations, it works for people that do small presentations, it works for people who do big presentations. So Ed that came to us is a CEO. He runs several businesses. He's very experienced in the recruitment space. And he came to me not because of confidence issues. He didn't have confidence issues. Excuse me. It wasn't because of confidence issues. He just needed to be better. He just understood that if he's going to raise investment, if he's going to launch a new business, he needed to be better at what he did. So I'm going to show a bit of what we did with Ed and other people I've worked with. There's 7 key areas to present with authority, and then we'll finish up this masterclass. Here's the thing I want you to understand. So when it comes to, here's another interesting giraffe fact, right? So with the aid of its long neck, a giraffe is able to reach leaves, fruit, and flowers high up where other animals can't get there, except for an elephant who can smash a tree down. Now, why do I tell you that? When you stand out for the right reasons, then you're able to have access to opportunities that other people don't have. When you're like the top and you got all this access and you got the top view and you're seeing things, you can see things in a different way when you're being more giraffe, when you're standing out. People approach you because of your authority, because of your expertise. People offer you things that otherwise don't get offered because you're standing out. So I just wanted to share that key about a giraffe. 1 second. So the first one I want to talk about is wanting to do a good job versus doing a good job. So if you want to present with authority, everybody I meet that presents, that speaks, they're like, oh, I want to be a great speaker. I want to be a great speaker. I want to do a good job. I want to be a great presenter. The difference is wanting is a striving ambition. When you really invest the time and the energy in doing a good job, i.e., and I'll go through a lot of that, but really, i.e., practicing, really working what I talked about, your tonality, pausing, pacing, using appropriate stories, which I'll come back to. All these things, it means you'll show up and you'll do a good job. It's about setting the intention to do a good job, but also showing up and doing a good job, which means also respecting the people that are in the room. So showing up hungover or showing up, oh, I'll just wing it, I haven't had time for this, is really disrespectful for the people, and it completely diminishes your authority, right? But if you want to really be authoritative, then you need to do versus want, right? It means showing up, it means executing, it means practicing, it means refining, it means getting feedback. That's what it means to do a good job, right? I really want you to think that if you knew that you couldn't fail or get it wrong, how would you approach presenting with authority? So if you knew you couldn't go wrong or fail, how would you approach it differently? And most people, when asked this question, they have all kinds of really great answers. Well, I would do this. I would go for bigger events. I would practice more. I would do that. Well, that's the real goals. So all you need to do is reverse engineer, work backwards, right? And go, okay, so I know where I want to achieve. Also, I know what could get in the way. And then you work with someone like a coach, a mentor, a trainer to help you avoid those pit stops. Most people are afraid of getting it wrong, afraid of judgment, afraid of heckling. That's really what they're afraid of, right? So by actually knowing, taking the what if I couldn't fail approach, and then understanding what could cause that failure will eliminate probably 80% of anything that's getting in your way to speak with authority. Someone that worked really well for is Juan. Juan was in the military before he worked with us. He used to command troops of 4,000 people, so confidence, again, wasn't an issue with him. Even presenting with authority to a certain audience wasn't an issue for him. Take him out of that environment, put him in a corporate environment, put him in a conference environment. He really struggled because he spoke like someone from the military. So with him, it was about going, okay, what if you had to come across softer? What if you had to really captivate the audience? How would you show up? What would you do instead? And we started to really break down all the steps he needed to do to add that element of humility, to add the element of vulnerability, to add all these elements I talked about at the beginning, which then enabled him to go out as a conference event speaker, as a corporate speaker, to get booked, get paid, because he was relatable now. He wasn't just standing there like a commander. So he had to strip that right back. So he shifted wanting to do a good job to doing a good job and doing what needed to be done to get there. The second thing I would suggest if you want to present with authority is research, right? Research who's in the room, research the audience, research what works for them. Now, again, if you're doing a presentation to the board and things like that, really find out who's in the room. What do they like? What do they dislike? Because someone with authority can create that rapport, but also create that relatability, and will know how to handle the different types of personality in the room if you do the research. The problem is a lot of people just show up and they'll present it the way they think it should be presented, which means often we're actually leaving a huge amount of people out because not everybody can relate. So understanding how to present to who's in the room, who's in the audience, will make a huge difference. Research is key. Structure, one of my favorite words, structure. Structure is so important. There's so many different effective structures you could use for you to present with authority. As I said, what most people do is they'll design the slides, overload it with information, and therefore it doesn't give you any kudos. It doesn't give you any authority. Structure allows you to know where you're going, understand how to get there, what needs to be in each area, and therefore have the ability to show up with authority. It's knowing where you need to get to. It's knowing how to get there, and it's know how to create an impact. That's what structure does. It completely breeds freedom. It completely breeds expression, and it gives you even more confidence, because then if you do go wrong, You just have to figure out how to get back, right? It's a bit like taking a wrong turn when you drive, but you know how to get back to the main road again. It's a bit like that. Structure is everything. It's the spine of presentation. It's the spine of authority. And every single authoritative speaker that you will see, any person that speaks with authority has a structure to it. Now, they might appear that they don't, and that's part of the next level training, right? So again, when we work with John, there are creative agencies. They put things on the shelves in supermarkets to get spotted. They knew what they're talking about. They were experts. They knew everything that they're talking about, except they lacked structure. They lacked flow. So therefore, when I worked with them, we gave them a structure, very solid structure. We call it Think-Talk structure, which allowed them to really get out there and truly demonstrate their authority. They got far more inquiries. They got bigger contracts because they came across A, calm, but B, with authority, because they knew exactly how to lead people where they wanted them to land. Structure is incredibly important. The next one is problem articulation. This is key. If you cannot communicate the problem you're addressing, whether you're in a corporate setting, whether you're in a boardroom, whether you're in conferences, you cannot articulate the problem you are going to be talking about in a way that is relatable to the audience, in a way that people can follow and understand, then you're going to literally create a barrier. What happens is a lot of us talk about the challenges, the problems when we're speaking with authority, how we get it. But what's really important is using the language that lands, right? The language that lands. That means that the language you are using is creating a bridge between you and the audience. It's creating an absolute clear pathway for them to understand you, follow you, and therefore buy into your thought leadership, into what you're saying, and potentially into your solution. Now, that doesn't mean everyone go, okay, that's great, well done me, woohoo, you're amazing. Doesn't mean you won't get challenged, but your ability to articulate the problem in a way that people can process and understand, that's going to be key. So that also goes back to research. Who's in the room? That's another key to presenting with authority. So, surprisingly, giraffes have the same amount of vertebrae in its necks as humans, which means, right, that we all have access to the same ability, the same skill sets. Now, some of us are more natural with it, but speaking is a skill that can be learned, period. Anybody can do it. It's not for the special few. Anybody can do it. You all have access to be great presenters. You all have the ability to be fantastic presenters with authority, right? Period. You all have that. That's why you need the time, the money, the energy, and the space to truly become that. Stop wanting to become one, start being one. That's key here, right? So you can all do it. Now, remember, our brains, they're neuroplastic, right? They change. We can change the pathways. We can change the neural pathways. Is it easy? No. Is it worth it? Yes. So if you do have any big challenges around speaking or around presenting, seek support, seek help. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to take it to the next level, then it's time to invest in your training. It's trying to get someone to guide you there, to help you and support you get there, right? Next one. We talked about the problem, being able to articulate the problem. Now, what's really important is the ability to communicate your solution. Again, the key here is to communicate in a way that people can relate to, that people can understand, and therefore buy into it or challenge it in a way that isn't defensive, that doesn't feel like you're being attacked. Well, I'm not sure that will work because of this. I'm not sure that will work because of this. But your ability to communicate your unique solution or the company's unique solution, that's going to be key to presenting with authority. It's all very well being able to talk about the problem. A lot of us can talk about the problem. What about the solution? Can you communicate that? That's key. Only got 2 more to go before we wrap this up. A brilliant, brilliant way to truly speak with authority, present with authority, and captivate with authority is using stories. If you're presenting a lot of data, which a lot of people can be in the space of data, what's really important is if you break it up with short little stories, even if it appears not to be related, but they're entertaining, they're useful, that will enhance your authority because you can captivate the room. You can take a topic that seems really dry and make it interesting. That is key. Knowing what story to tell when, knowing the length of the story is really important as well. But that's one of the key things. If you watch a lot of people that present with authority, that speak with authority, it's their ability to tell stories and knowing which ones to use when. Now, of course, that's going to come with experience, right? That's going to come with experience. However, start integrating stories into your presentations, and that will enhance your authority. Someone we did this really well with is a lady called Janetta. I won't go too much into her story, but she had a bit of a traumatic experience with her daughter. And when she started to share her story more and more in corporate settings, in conference settings, in a way that was about empowering, uplifting, and elevating the audience, not in a poor me way. And she knew what story to tell when. It really took something that's very hard to talk about and gave it an easier access to listen, to benefit, to really communicate the problem and the solution, which I've talked about. She's able to do that as well because she researched who was in the room. What's the best communication? What's the best use of story? And using the appropriate story is key, right? And the last step is, listen, there is no substitute to practicing. Practice, practice, practice. Practice the presentation. Yes. Practice what can go wrong. Practice getting feedback, right? So practice the presentation, practice what can go wrong, and practice getting feedback. Because what a lot of us do is we'll practice in front of the mirror, we'll practice in a room. We won't practice enough, in fairness. I recommend you practice any talk 50 times. And a lot of you like, what? Oh my gosh, that's so much. Who has time? Make the time if you want to present with authority. 50 times allow you to truly understand and really know the talk back to front. Practice what can go wrong. Slides can go off. Technology can fail. Whatever it might be, practice that. The other thing I want you to practice is getting feedback, as in present to people, get feedback, but also get used to, get people to potentially heckle you. What are the 5 worst things you would hate for someone to shout at you? Practice dealing with that, because that in itself will truly help you stand there with authority. Because when you're able to deal with hecklers or you're able to deal with the tough questions in a calm manner, that magnifies your authority. I've stood there on stage and one guy was heckling me and he was yelling abuse, and I stood there and I listened and I asked him to stand up and I addressed it and I gave him some options. I never lost my cool, never got angry. And I just, very gently said, listen, you need to decide if you want to be here or not. Please, with love, leave the room. And then he made the decision to leave the room after lunch. But because of my ability to manage it in a calm, composed manner, the whole way the audience saw me shifted and changed. Therefore, when they came back from the break, I had even more grip of the room and more authority. But that's because I practiced dealing with that. I practiced dealing with being heckled. I practiced getting tough feedback. That enabled me to elevate my ability to present with authority. So I want you to be more giraffe, right? And I really love to support you. If there's any way I can do, let's have a conversation. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just look Elliot K and you'll see me with a jacket looking very cool. And you can email us at hello@speakerexpress.co.uk. If you want to book a call with me, you can, it's just basically a tiny URL /speak with authority. Just grab a slot from there. I'm in the UK. Just keep that in mind. If you can't find a slot, email me and we'll find you a slot. My team will find you a slot. But what's really important is you go out there, you are seen, you are heard for the right reasons, and that you are always being more giraffe. So that is
We have a couple of questions in the chat if you get a chance, Elliot.
Okay, a couple of questions in the chat. Let me just come out of sharing and I will address any questions that have arose. I hope you got value from that. Right, let's have a look at the chat. So, question from Ash. What is the biggest risk you have taken with pitching or presenting? I think the biggest risk I've taken is I went on a very, very big national TV show to try and win over the audience. There's 4,000 people. There's big buzzers. Because I really wanted to get my message out there, and I got booed by 4,000 people, and it's not something that I would encourage anyone to do. But here's the thing: I took that and really started to understand how I could make sure that never happens again. But that was me really putting myself out there in front of a very, very tough, hard audience, which basically you get through if they like you or not. So that's one of the biggest risks I've ever took. And I haven't ever experienced that again. I'm happy to say I've always managed to deal with rooms and things like that with authority. As a novice, do you recommend using slides for support? Yes. So here's the key, and I like that question. Slides, excuse me. Slides are a support mechanism. What a lot of people is they basically rely on the whole slides to do the presentation. I could have done this presentation with or without slides, right? The key is that slides enhance the presentation. They magnify. They are not the presentation. So the way to do it is to use slides that trigger, that fire off what you're going to say. Use images, use words, a bit like I did, but don't overload it with information and don't rely on them. You should be able to do this without slides just as much. But yes, use slides as well. I think that'd be quite a good thing to do, especially as a novice, but even a professional. Slide, flip charts, they all count. Question: if your camera dies 5 minutes before an important online presentation, would you reschedule or go ahead without the camera? If my camera dies and my mic works, I would still go ahead. I would explain my camera isn't working, so please listen in. I'm happy to send you the slides afterwards, kind of thing. I would do it because the thing is, if people have booked the time, then we have to respect that, right? We have to respect the people who booked the time and that they truly want to be there. Now, if I'm suddenly going, sorry guys, if it's complete, like I cannot get anything on, it won't work, by all means reschedule. People are understanding. But if I can deliver something versus nothing, I'd rather deliver something. I hope that answers the question. Ash has a total computer unable to contribute. Okay. So Ash's computer is completely crashed, so he's unable to contribute. It's pretty sad that he's not here because they're looking forward to obviously hearing more about what they do and being able to support. So I'm in the audience. Hi, Ash, in the audience. Is there any other questions I could answer before we wrap this up? Is there anything you want me to say before I wrap this up? Please feel free to reach out to me, email me, add me on LinkedIn. If you want to book in a call, please do. Otherwise, I really, really hope that you got value from this. What is the most difficult part about being a speaker? Ooh, good question. So that is it's funny, isn't it? Because it's a bit of a loaded question because it's such an individual process. And it does depend where you are as a speaker, because a speaker is like a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's an ever evolving process. It's an ever growth thing. It's a skill set, right? I think for most people let's start kind of like someone starting out. It's about learning to manage nerves and being confident to present. It's then dealing when things don't quite work out. How do you manage that? I think that's important as well. That's one of the key factors. And then once you've done that, it's about refining the speaking. It's about storytelling. It's about using your voice correctly. It's about how do you use your body? How do you use your posture? How do you hold rooms? So you might start doing, presentations in front of 20, 30 people, but then you go to 100. That's a different skill set. Then you go to 500, different skill set. Then you go to 1,000, different skill set. How do you hold a room when you can't even see faces? So it really depends where you are in terms of your presenting journey. But for me, what's the most difficult part for me? I think the most difficult part for me is I'm dyslexic, right? And I don't always see things when I write. Some of you might have spotted that. Normally my wife reviews it, but I change things last minute, naughty me. So for me, the hardest thing is dealing with, flip charts when I can't write, and stuff like that. That's to me what I always have to battle with in front of thousands of people. I'm writing a flip chart. Am I spelling this right? But the way I counter that, not to lose authority, is I let people know. I'm like, hi guys, I'm dyslexic. I'm going to misspell. The good news is I'm not an English teacher. You're here for my content. And that's how I would address that. Any thoughts on if you should stand up and deliver presentations? Great question. The answer is yes. Typically, I would have done this standing up with my clicker because the energy is very different standing up than sitting down. So, and when I train people, I always train them to do, even if it's virtual, do it standing up. Always do it standing up, unless there's a medical reason. Today I chose, because this is more masterclassy, more podcasty, I chose to sit down. But typically when I do my webinars, when I do my trainings, I'm standing up, because also to demonstrate authority, to have that energy and that conviction, I would always encourage people to stand up. And if it's live, then I would also encourage to use the stage and not just stand still. So that's what I'd say. Fantastic questions. Thank you for everybody asking questions. Any questions before we wrap this up? Simon, Ash, or anyone in the audience, any questions whatsoever, please do put them in there. Now's the time. Otherwise, if you do want in any way, wherever you are in the world, to find out more about working with us, email us, or you've got the tiny URL as well, that you can book a call in. You can add me on LinkedIn. And of course, for everybody that is in Ash and Simon's communities, I think you will be doing phenomenal working with those incredible people. That's it from me. I wish you an incredible afternoon, evening, night, or morning, depending where you're watching this in the world. I know there's people all the way on the other side of the world watching this right now. I'd like to thank you. My name is Elliot Kay. Remember to be seen, be heard, and always be more giraffe. So thank you, people. Have a lovely rest of the day, and